All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome into today's edition of In the Game. I am your host, Hustle, and as always, we're going to be diving into the Web3 gaming landscape as I'll be joined by Carlos from DEGA, one of the projects I've been talking about quite a bit on the show, Web3 gaming infrastructure, just making it easy for these games to build inside of Web3 and taking the complication out of the process. We'll go over the entire ecosystem, their exact products within DEGA, as well as their upcoming ISPO. I know I've been talking a lot about that as well. And I'm excited because it's a different type of way to go to market for a token. So we'll go over all the details with Carlos today. Go ahead and like the video and subscribe for more every single day here on Banter and on In the Game. Quick shout out to our sponsors as well. Bybit, for all of your trading needs. You can sign up for a Bybit account in the description below. NordVPN, always navigate safely and securely whenever you're using your wallets on these different platforms. Don't disclose your location. Use a VPN down below. Last but not least, one of the top ecosystems and Web3 gaming studios in all of crypto gaming. That is Vulcan Forge. Link in the description for all of our sponsors down below. Now let's go ahead and bring in Carlos. How are you today?
Hey there, Hustle. Doing great. It's been a very exciting day and looking forward to the conversation with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything it's got to be exciting on your side, especially with the things stacking up with the ISPO and all the launches around the corner. So really stoked to kind of just go over exactly. I know I've been discussing it on the show, but it's always great to hear straight from the source exactly what's being built and the go-to-market strategy. So thank you for taking the time. I know it's a super busy time period for you with DEGA as well. So I'll just go ahead and let you introduce yourself and then also introduce DEGA in your own words.
Yeah, happy to do so. On my side, I've been doing computer science for over 13 years now. I started the first half of my career in the enterprise world, working with large companies such as Wells Fargo Bank, 𝗕𝘆𝗕𝗄𝗋, IBM Watson. And then the other half of my career has been in the blockchain space. I created a new development studio here in Latin America with other people from the region. We did everything from deploy new layer ones to side chains to DEXs, cross-chain exchanges, and a whole host of different solutions in the industry. And I also personally led the Cardano sidechains program at 𝗖𝗵𝗿𝗃 for about 13 months. And since then, I left to create DEGA because it's been my obsession for some time to improve the experience and the tooling out there for developers and consumers, right? So what we are bringing to the table, in short, is the equivalent of the AWS for blockchain, right? To be able to provision the infrastructure and the technology that you need without you having to worry about the underlying complexities, and then for developers to be able to build on top of them without having to go through a long learning curve, which you usually have in the blockchain space. So in precisely speaking, products like deploying layer 2s on demand, deploying new sidechains on demand, deploying new modules like NFT marketplaces, DEXs, on existing blockchains. So that's kind of like our focus, right? To be able to bring down the barriers of adoption while also enabling scalability and adoption for developers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a much needed aspect of the space. When you take a look, if a Web 2 game has a great game, but they know nothing about smart contracts, they know nothing about marketplaces, they don't know how to code these things, they don't know where to source developers from for the blockchain side, stuff like DEGA's the plug and play basically to be able to get those integrations inside of the games. And so what was, you had moved from 𝗖𝗵𝗿𝗃 to building DEGA. What was kind of the trigger in your head that this was the niche that you wanted to go into? Like what made you choose Web3 gaming and have that conviction in that industry?
So I would say it's like two-part. Let's start with the blockchain side. Like why Web3, why blockchain, right? I myself am originally from Honduras, though I live in Costa Rica now, but just the same, it's Latin America, right? So I'm very familiar with the challenges we face in emerging markets, everything from not only the financial aspect of it, which I believe most of the crypto industry is aware of, but also in general with innovation and entrepreneurship, right? Getting funding, getting access to the right tooling, it's super complicated, right? There's a very small ecosystem here, and therefore blockchain and crypto are a great network of connections that allow even people from underdeveloped nations to be able to participate in bleeding edge technological development, right? So that's why blockchain and crypto in general, right? Now specifically gaming, why? because gamers are digitally native, right? I don't have to go and preach to a gamer why something digital has value. They'll be like, of course it has value, right? Of course it has. But in other industries, as you know, if you go and say, well, this NFT is valuable because of X, Y, and Z, they're going to look at you weird, right? If you go to the art world or if you go to the banking world, they're not digitally native. So gamers had that advantage. And then also we believe that we're heading towards the gamification of everything, right? And a good example of that is Duolingo, which is Web 2, right? But Duolingo's taught more languages to people than any course or book of any university. And it'll continue to do so, and it's continuing to improve, and they're tweaking their mechanics to make it even better. So there's way more projects like that coming, right? Projects that will gamify healthcare, exercising, even doing your work, like your normal task, everything is going to be gamified, right? So gaming is a great beachhead to, let's say, take over, and then use that as a catapult towards the rest of the industries.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you, especially the conviction on the gaming side. And I think when you look at a lot of the trends in businesses and the attention, I would call what we live in now as the attention economy, right? And the attention of the younger generations are going towards games and gaming. If you actually look at the industry, it's overtaken music, film, and television, I believe, combined. If you combine all three of them, gaming at this moment in time has, triumphed all of them put together. So it's really powerful what gaming has done, especially since the year 2020, everything that happened that year. It really brought a lot of people back to gaming, and it really brought the gaming rise to the fold, what we've seen today. So let's kind of get into DEGA and the product stack within DEGA. So I know that there's a couple different things that people can take advantage of as a developer. Can you go into DEGA Studio? So you mentioned the AWS of the ecosystem. So what are some of the tools that a developer could access and take advantage of within DEGA Studio?
So sure, happy to do so. So there's a few things that we have there. And one of the things that a lot of people will notice when they begin to use DEGA Studio is the concept of metachain, right? We don't talk in terms of layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, because those things right now are relevant because they're up in your face. Like as an end user, you gotta be aware of where you are. Like for example, you need to know that you are on Ethereum mainnet, or you need to know that you're on Arbitrum layer 2. Right? You don't do that with normal software, right? Like when you open Gmail, you don't even know what data center you're on. You don't know what server you're on. You just know you're on Gmail, right? So that's exactly what we're doing with the concept of metachain, where we're obfuscating the blockchain behind the scenes, and we're allowing developers to build out their systems as they would with a normal API. So the concept of metachain is basically, you're going to say, I want my own dedicated blockchain. Whether that's a layer 1, a layer 2, or a layer 3, we'll handle that for you based on the parameters that you set, based on the needs that you have, right? And the systems that you want to integrate with. So that'll basically be one of the key concepts there, right? Metachains. And another cool thing about metachains is that we'll scale them horizontally without you noticing it. What does that mean? Right now, if you use an application, right, let's say a new game, right, and everybody's using the application, you have hundreds of thousands of millions of players joining every minute. That system, what it does, it spins off new servers, right, and it load balances the operation, and that's how the system works. Otherwise, it would just collapse. So we don't have that in the blockchains right now, right? But with DEGA, with the metachain concept, we're working on provisioning elastic blockchains, right? Elastic provisioning. That means that new blockchains will spin off dynamically so that you can offload the transactions there. And once you're done with that work, they will collapse again, right? And thanks to the beautiful mathematics of zero-knowledge proofs, we can always just compress all of those transactions into a single proof. We register that so we know it happened. You can verify what happened, but you don't need to keep the blockchain provision. Right. So that's the cool thing that we're providing with metachains from an infrastructure perspective. And then subsequently, you'll see other modules like NFT marketplace, right? Or a DEX for in-game currencies, or an NFT minter. Also collections, like I need to have dynamic NFTs with on-chain metadata and so forth. So we'll probably even name them different because we think that some of these technical terms should disappear. like you should talk about digital assets and not NFTs. So all of those kind of things are going to be packed up in nice, let's say, solutions, right? Versus talking about smart contracts and modules, you'll talk about whole solutions that you can use.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, you tell a gamer that you need to use the Avalanche blockchain, you need to provide gas, you need to interact with the right like to them, that's just like, it sounds too complicated, right? So I think the MetaChain solution is awesome because they shouldn't even have to worry about what am I using. And as you mentioned, the user experiences, everything that we use is powered by something on the back end, but the user isn't the one that should have to pick through their head and make sure they're using the right tool stack within Web3 or wallet creation. How will the wallets work for, let's just say, are you guys going to provide a solution to where it's not like the traditional MetaMask onboarding for these games? Like, will they have their own wallet solutions? How will that work with the MetaChains?
Yes. So yes, we're also building a solution called DEGA Render, which will be a light wallet that allows you to access our API without you having been concerned about what gas fee you're using. You won't have to be concerned about writing a 24-word passphrase and memorizing that and losing that and that causing you to lose your assets. Basically, DEGA Render is kind of like an Instagram for digital assets, right? So you'll be able to send an NFT as easy as you send a picture in Instagram. You'll be able to buy them as easy as you shop on Instagram. So that's kind of like the let's say template that we're taking because people are very familiar with that design language. So we're kind of using it as inspiration to build out this new type of we could say asset management app, but it really works as your wallet, right? And we're not doing this alone. In case somebody out there is like, whoa, you guys are doing infrastructure, you're doing direct-to-consumer applications. We're doing everything with other companies that are providing us infrastructure, modules, services, commercial relationships. So we're bringing together a pretty big coalitions for 3 companies that are going to make this possible.
Makes sense. That's what it's all about, though. You got to utilize the talent around you and build from the ground up. So I think it's awesome. And the interface here far triumphs others when it comes to like social aspects. I feel like I don't know. OpenSea just doesn't accomplish that for me. If you're trying to put your personality on your OpenSea, it's kind of hard to. I feel like this type of UI also caters to that younger generation who likes games, who likes aesthetic UI and user experiences. So I really like that. And simplifying the gas side of it, a gamer shouldn't have to worry about having enough gas fees to transact or play the game. So I absolutely love that. And, just as far as some of the technologies involved, like I know the DNFTs are also a big part of like the product or technology stack. What exactly would you say that sets apart DNFTs from like the traditional side of NFTs?
Man, I love that question because I really do like to jump into DNFTs. So DEGA NFTs or DNFTs are basically what we're providing in terms of innovation for managing infrastructure, right? So right now, all of the, let's say, proof of stake blockchains and all of the governance aspects of communities are managed directly by tokens, right? So you have tokens, you have equal, let's say, voting power on your proof of stake blockchain, or you have X amount of tokens and you have voting power on a DAO. And that kind of has opened up for attack a few DAOs, for a hostile takeover. So somebody that's not vested in the community, that's never done, lifted a finger to help the people, just swoops in and buys a whole bunch of tokens and then starts to take control of the ecosystem. So to avoid that, what we're doing with DEGA is actually making the NFTs the center of everything, right? You use the NFTs for validators and also NFTs for governance on the DAO side. And what's different about it is that they accrue reputation. So the more you validated the blockchain and you've done a good job, then you have a reputation metric, which only belongs to you, right? It's not something you can move around like a token. You can't sell it. So it has to be used by your NFT. So that means that you can continue to demonstrate that you've been a good actor over several period of time. And then we will be using the DEGA tokens as well, but not directly as governance tokens, right? You can look at them more like fuel or utility, right? So you do locking tokens into your NFT. And then when you do that, basically your tokens are weighted versus your NFT's reputation. And that'll give you your, let's say, voting power or your staking power for validating the network, and also for managing governance on the community side of things. So that's kind of like the unique tech that we're bringing to the table. So you still have an economics aspect that allows you to protect yourself from civil attacks, and also you have a reputation accruing on your NFT, which protects you from economic attacks.
Makes sense completely. And it kind of reminds me, the reputation reminds me of like a karma on Reddit. Despite what Reddit just did with all their content takedown, it kind of reminds me of that, because you see a user with a lot of karma or like a lot of those points, you're like, okay, they have a reputation, right? So I really love that, especially when it comes to governance and validation, delegation, stuff like that. Like you said, the current scales of how that works isn't correct in the industry. So I really like that it kind of ties all those things together and then brings out these DNFTs that kind of can dictate that via your reputation. So I really love that. And I want to kind of segue into the ISPO coming up, because I know there's a lot of interest within the communities, within, you know, our following here, because I've mentioned it quite a bit as well. It's a very innovative way to go to market. And I haven't seen projects in this niche, right? Web3 gaming infrastructure take this route. Most of them would bootstrap, VC, you know, private seed sales, all these different things. But with the ISPO model, I feel like it's a lot different, and it's a very fair way to go to market for network participants. So what made you guys choose an ISPO over the traditional routes like an IGO or anything like that?
Yes, so ISPOs are indeed a very special case. The most successful one has been done by one of our partners and investors, which is Ken Alling, CEO of Melt Finance. When they did their ISPO, they had over $1 billion delegated and generated over $14 million worth of yield from the stake pools. And basically, as you said, the key objective of that concept is to enable people to have like a fair participation, right? And it also, one of the key differences is that it's not a one-day thing. Like if I do a token offering, right, in whatever format, be it with a DEX or be it with a centralized exchange, you set up X amount of tokens that get released into the market, right? And basically people have to FOMO that day in. They don't have much time to get to know you, to see your progress, to see how you're behaving. So they have to either make a gamble that day of supporting or not supporting your project, right? So an ISPO is different, because what you do here, I'm going to do a short explanation for anybody that's not familiar with the concept. Basically, you have a validator, right? Like a node making more blocks in a blockchain. So for example, Cardano, right? So you have your validator, you're minting blocks, you get block rewards, right? Just like you get on every blockchain, Ethereum, Bitcoin, whatever. So normally, some people can set up a node. So that's why you have the concept of delegation. So let's say that you don't set up a node and I have one. So you can delegate your ADA to me, right? Your Cardano to me. So now I'm the one that's making blocks, but I have a higher voting power because you delegated to me. So we get more block rewards, we get more ADA, and we split that yield, right? Like I would give you 90%, I would give 10%. So what we do with an ISPO is I'll keep 100% of the yield, right? And then instead of giving you ADA, what I will do is I'll reward your participation for supporting me to secure the Cardano network with my project tokens, right? So I'm going to give you DEGA, and it's going to be a fixed, reward for your delegation, while I might be earning a lot or a little. It depends on the delegation that I get in my validator. But basically, that's kind of like the operation, right? The mechanics. So you never lose your ADA, right? So if you had $10,000 worth of ADA, you're gonna still have $10,000 worth of ADA by the end of your delegation, right? And you can delegate to me, and then you can, oh, I don't like what Carlos is doing. You can undelegate. There's no minimum, there's no maximum. So it's a very open system, and it'll go for about a maximum of 7 months, right? You really don't want to do it over that time frame. So it's not a competition, to be clear, to private rounds or launch pads. We see it as a complement to that. Most companies that do ISPOs do also for private rounds. But it's, as you were saying, it's a fair way to give access to the community, right? And since it takes place over months, they also have a chance to research you properly and understand who you are. So it's like a smarter airdrop, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a really nice way to even the stakes, right? Because I feel like whenever you do buy late, buy on a DEX, IGOs even, sometimes you're buying after a bunch of liquidity. So like you said, it gives the user, the participant, some time to understand the project, understand the team, and then they can just delegate their assets that they already hold, like ADA, for example, and then be rewarded in the token that they are supporting the project of. So I love it. I think it lowers the barrier of entry, lowers the FOMO tremendously, because there isn't FOMO in that regard, right? Other than just like, okay, I want to be early in the pools, so that way I'm maximizing my duration to receive the tokens. I guess that would be the only bit of FOMO, but it's not in the negative light that a token launch provides whenever they see it rocket after launch, and then they're all FOMOing in. It just creates kind of a toxic negative environment a bit in that landscape. So I think the ISPO is really innovative, and I know eventually it's going to go multi-chain. So what are the plans on any estimated timeline that, you know, participants of Polkadot, Ethereum, or Polygon could look for?
Yeah. I don't want to give exact dates because, as you know, in engineering, those things change. But we are in conversations right now with several key players from the Polkadot ecosystem. So we're looking to do that one next. I would say anything between 1 to 3 months. We'll have it there on Polkadot. It'll be the first Polkadot ISPO. Funny enough, it's a concept that's super pervasive in the Cardano ecosystem. Like, everybody knows them, and it's literally not known outside of it. Like, nobody knows what ISPO is outside of Cardano. So we're going to start doing that for Polkadot. We believe it'll be bringing a lot of value and support to the projects there. And we also already have the code built out to do this on top of Polygon and on top of Ethereum as well. We have several key partners in all of those ecosystems, some of the largest organizations there. I don't want to give the names out until we do the official announcement. But for example, in Cardano, we have Melt Finance, the largest DeFi player there. We have 𝗵𝗂𝗋, the largest land sale in that ecosystem. We also just announced a partnership with 𝗨 and many others coming in the following weeks. And besides going multi-chain, one other cool thing that we're doing is we're actually gamifying it in combination with our NFTs. So the more that you've delegated, your NFT will evolve into a higher rank within the gameplay, and it'll also gain certain attributes and skills based on the support that you've given us in the ISPO.
That's amazing. No, I like it. And I remember I learned about ISPOs during the last cycle on Cardano, stuff like MELD, actually. I remember that one very distinctly. So I think it's really cool to see the evolution of projects still using it, but also seeing Web3 games utilizing this technology. I know, obviously, with your experience with 𝗍𝗏𝗃, that there might have been, you know, obviously you've seen what's being done there on the back end. What made you guys go the Cardano route, right? Kind of that initial launch on Cardano, even beyond the ISPO side. What would you say are some of the strengths that kind of led you guys to continue the core component of launching there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the key things that we saw there is that there are several key players with truly innovative products, and also with a very powerful and engaged community, right? And I believe that I probably have the two best partners there, right? Which is MELD and 𝗵𝗂𝗋, right? And not to diss my other partners, because I really appreciate their support as well, but these guys are like leading edge, right? So 𝗵𝗂𝗋 is one of the first games to be built on Unreal Engine 5. They took up that challenge when it was just super recent. And again, the record-breaking land sale showcased their capability for being able to reach the right audience with the right product. So I would say that their ambition, right, and what they want to build there is what brought us there. And together with them, we're actually building a new layer 2 for Cardano. So we're providing value to the ecosystem as well. And we look forward to supporting many other projects in the Cardano ecosystem.
Awesome. No, and it's really cool. I love 𝗵𝗂𝗋. I'm a big fan of MELD. I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing at DEGA. So just hearing that the ecosystem still has that sentiment and the liveliness on the inside, because I think from the outside, the biggest thing that people say is like, you know, products aren't being built on Cardano. But at the same time, I think the people that are in the know on that side do see the quality projects that are innovating and still building with Cardano. So I think it's awesome. And a big testament to you guys, 3 million 𝗍𝗂 staked. And I believe
we're actually almost four right now.
See, I was about to say, I know it went from 1 to 3 within a day. Was that right? 1 to 3 million tokens within a day or so?
Yeah. So yeah, we're about to reach the 4 million, which is about $1 million, give or take, in USD. Right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, that's just showing the confidence in the community to what you guys are building. And like I've said throughout the show, simplifying this industry is what it's going to take to get the big players in, to get the indie devs who are just on the edge and they don't know how to put NFTs in their game, but they see the ownership aspect being so important. So, I mean, a big applause to what you guys have built, and, you know, awesome seeing the sentiment in the community of the 𝗍𝗂 staked. I'm sure we'll be seeing that 4 million 𝗍𝗂 staked tweet very soon.
Yeah, we're 4,000 away from the 4 million.
Oh, that'll happen quickly. That'll happen quickly. Anything that I didn't address that maybe you wanted to cover before we wrap it up?
Just on top of, you know, all the things we've discussed, we're also growing a lot in the community. We already have 12 tribes built in DEGA. A DEGA tribe is kind of like the equivalent of a gaming guild. It's a little bit different. We actually see them as a more larger, comprehensive type of organization. But nonetheless, those are kind of like the groupings taking place. So we're going to also be having a lot of competition for DEGA. So right now, if you like the game, then join us and take part in this competition to basically have your shot at gaining some DEGA while having fun with your tribe.
That's awesome. Gamifying it, like you mentioned at the beginning, gamifying the experiences that we take part in every single day. So I think it's awesome. I think the tribes goes well with like the branding here, obviously. So I love that as well. And just making it a game and making the community involved in that way, I think is awesome as well. So absolutely follow them on Twitter, 𝗍𝗂_org. You can hit their website, 𝗍𝗂.org. And then their Discord, Telegram, all that good stuff is here in the bio as well. Do you have a Twitter also, Carlos?
Yeah. They can find me via Carlos Rene. And also you can see my social links on the DEGA website. This is something that I always like to clarify to everybody, to go to the official webpage, right? Because there's a lot of people out there with sadly bad intentions, and they're probably going to try to impersonate either DEGA or myself. So always make sure to go to the right channel, which is DEGA.org or DEGA.org, right?
Yep.
DEGA.org. And from there, you can link and see all the team, our blog posts, all of our social media. So make sure to go to the right source. And we'll be looking forward to meeting you and having on board of the DEGA tribe as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Carlos, thank you so much for taking the time. I know a half hour at this point is definitely a premium, even with the launch right around the corner and how busy you've been. So thank you so much for taking the time to kind of go over the ecosystem and the ISPO, everything going on behind the scenes. I'm super bullish on what you guys are building. And I definitely need to hurry up and get involved in that ISPO so that way I can be ready to go for Monday. But guys, like the video and subscribe for more every single day here on Banter and on In the Game as well. I will be back on Monday. Play well, my friends.
See you.